Welcome back, artists. Yesterday we started cartooning. I showed you guys some really simple ways that you can get started on drawing a cartoon face from an angle, and a couple ways we can do different styles of hair that you can really start to make it look like it's got a little bit of its own personality. So again, really simple with the nose and the eyes last time, really using the same face and practicing different styles of hair. So what I want to get into today is how we can switch that face up so all the characters don't look exactly the same. So we're going to be looking at how to draw different like shapes of faces, shapes of head. We're still going to use this angle, kind of angled view where we're not looking straight forward, but we're also not looking straight sideways. And then probably tomorrow we'll get into how to actually draw all the different angles that you might see. But for now, we're going to stick to this kind of angled view. So let's get to it. If we think about how I kind of got started on this, if you look at all of these shapes, they're basically circles. Everything with this style that kind of always drew when I was a kid was all based around circles. But of course, it doesn't have to be. There's tons of different ways you can do it. So let's start to think about some different styles that we can use and start to add some different details to it. So again, if we think about what I showed already, I'm just going to sketch out a couple of quick kind of different shapes that you can use, and then we'll go back and add some details. So maybe I'll start with this kind of circular shape that we already did, because we'll add some more details to some of those in a minute too. And all I'm going to do is basically just sketch out some different shapes. I'm going to include the basic shape of the ear, which I'm going to use an oval. Again, even ears, you could add different shapes, different details too. But for everything I'm going to do, I'm going to use that kind of oval shape we started with last time. And we'll go back. So that's basically how we had it last time. So let's move forward. Obviously, if we think of a circle as the basic shape of the head, well, I could just stretch that out a little bit. I'm going to end up with kind of an oval shape for the head. Maybe my ear. I'm always going to put my ear about halfway. And if I want to change it later, I can always change it later. Nothing's written in stone here. That's why I'm using a pencil and not a pen. I might go over and add some pen details to some of these later on, but for now I'm just going to give myself some basic shapes. So I could do something like that. Now, so far, neither of these shapes really have like the chin defined. They're just, here's a circle, here's an oval. So a lot of times you'll see something where the chin has more of a pointy curve to it. So maybe something like this. Then I'll wrap that around to the top. So almost like an egg shape, I guess. And this does have a little bit more of a realistic look to it, but hey, sometimes cartoons can look realistic. At their core, all cartoons are abstract art. They're taking something that looks, realistic, a person, and they're abstracting it. They're making it simpler in some way. But exactly how abstract they get, totally up to you. If you're reading comic books, sometimes they're relatively realistic in the way they do their styles. But if you're watching, a cartoon show that comes on in the afternoon, a lot of times you'll see those as very much more abstract. So right now, actually this is a good example of this. If I use this type of shape, you can almost imagine that as SpiderMan if I just drew the eyes in right. So that's more of a realistic style of shape, but that's okay. And I'm just kind of blocking out the shoulders for now. Maybe I'll go ahead and add an ear to this as well. Again, some of these ears might end up being too high or too low or whatever. We'll change them if we need to. Cool. Okay. So that'd be circle, oval, kind of an egg shape here, which does have a little bit more of a realistic look to it. Oh, I know what I got next. Maybe on that same realm from comic books. Maybe this one I'm going to give a real flat chin. Something like this. And the reason I said that this reminds me of comic books is because this is exactly how Batman was drawn in the Batman animated series, with that kind of really broad flat chin. So maybe something like this. And again, sketch out your own. Make up your own shapes, right? Like, there's really no right or wrong when you're doing things like this. So there you go, something like that might work. What else can we do? Well, I guess we could take that idea of kind of the flat chin, and we could maybe take it so it's not quite as extreme. Something like this. It's still got a little bit of a curve to it, but maybe it's flatter on the bottom. It's looking pretty similar to this one, so maybe I'll change that up in just a minute. Let's see. And again, that's really the fun part of experimenting in general, is you can change stuff up as much as you want to. So one thing I'm going to do with this one, and you'll see this a lot, is if you look from this view, you can see right near the eye, there's kind of a bump and then the cheek sticks back out. You'll see that a lot in certain styles of cartoons and animation. So maybe I'll actually add that little kind of bump where the eye would be. Something like that. There we go. Hey, maybe that'll work. Maybe that was too extreme. I'm not sure. We'll figure out in a minute. Cool. And I'm not really putting any details into the shoulders for now. They should probably all be a little bit broader than they are. But hey, again, different styles are going to be different. Some cartoon characters are like super, super thin and tall and lanky. Other ones are like more short and squatty. So again, it's up to you and what you're trying to do. So this little bump in here, you see a lot in kind of the anime style. So maybe I'll do one like that, where everything's the same basic types of shapes, but a little bit more exaggerated, a little bit more pointy. A lot of times in the anime style, you'll see the chin come to like a perfect little point, a corner, which of course we wouldn't see on people in real life, but hey, again, if it's abstract art, the goal isn't really to look exactly like real life. And then I'll just do kind of round up and over. All right. And now that I'm looking at it, I'm really not sure about the neck placement on any of these, but hey, we can change them as we go, whatever. This is how we learn, right? By trying new stuff. Oh, I didn't put any ears on these guys. So we'll add a little ear in here. Maybe one about here. Maybe one out here. Again, I might need to change some of this later. Cool. So hey, there's a bunch of different face style shapes that you can use. And again, you can make up your own as well. Like, there's tons of different things you can do. Also, don't feel like you have to be bound by, again, reality, because cartoons inherently are a form of abstract art. So for example, you could just as easily just make up something really weird where, let's say this is sticking way out here and this is coming way up around here. Maybe I've got my eyes here. It just depends on really how cartoony you want to get with it, right? So you can have cartoons with triangles, you know, and squares for heads. It's whatever you want to do. So don't feel like you have to be bound by, oh, what has some semblance of reality. It really doesn't matter. So anyway, what I'm about to do, I'm going to talk about some different ways we can do eyes and noses and things like that. And then I'm going to start kind of adding in and doing kind of like we did yesterday with the hair, just adding variety to these to give them each their own character, their own personality. So before I do that, though, I'm actually going to trace this onto a separate sheet so I can do more than 6 of them. And we'll see what we can come up with. So I'm going to take a break for a minute so you guys don't have to sit and watch me trace that, and I will be right back. That's what we got so far. All right, cool. So we've got 2 of those to play around with and see what we can come up with. Before we really start talking about adding details to these face shapes, let's start talking about, what details we can possibly add. So we talked a lot about hair last time, so I'm not going to go too much more in depth into that. I might try some new things when I actually draw. I want to focus on like facial features. Now, mouths, obviously, there's a ton of different ways you can do those. I'm not going to get super into that. I want to focus on eyes and noses. So there's a couple basic things to note. If you're working with eyes, so your basic idea is you're going to have some circles at a minimum. So like the simplest eyes you could probably do is 2 little black circles. Doesn't get really much simpler than that. Now, so we can think of those as our pupils. Different cartoon characters are going to have different details in the eyes, obviously. So if you think about like an actual person's eye, you've got the white space, which is the sclera. You've got the colored space, which is the iris. And then you've got the black part, which is the pupil that you actually see out of, right? So that's how eyes look in real life. Now in cartoons, you might see irises, you might see colors, you might just see pupils. They're all going to be totally different shapes. So some cartoon eyes will literally just be 1 part. Some will be 2. You've got the black part and the colored part. Sometimes you'll have the white part. Totally different. Depends on, how you want to do it. So let's see what we can do. So obviously that's about as simple as we can get it. From there, and this is kind of how I did mine yesterday, if I just add in 2 bigger circles around, you've got pretty standard cartoon eyes there. Now, of course, I could take any of these shapes and I could elongate them into ovals. So we could do, something like that. I could add irises. In other words, you might see the colored part going around it. One of the things you'll see a lot is reflections in different pieces. Now, depending on how you do your irises, sometimes they kind of freak me out like that. I don't know, something about that just seems like very, like the eyes are bugging out or something. So I tend to not like to include irises. Most time if I want to make a cartoon character have colored eyes, I'll just make the center circle that color instead of also including the iris. But hey, you do you. You do whatever you like. If you do want to include irises, one thing that you'll see a whole lot, just to give them a little bit more life, a little bit more personality, is you'll see reflections. And oftentimes, even if you don't draw the iris, you'll see reflections in eyes too. And all the reflection is going to be is like a little shape. It could be circle, it could be, a curve, whatever you want it to be. Sometimes people add more than one reflection to their eye. But all the reflection's really going to be is a space in the eye that you leave as white. So even when I go back and color, which I'm not really going to do any coloring in this video, but even when I go back and color and maybe add some color to my iris, I'll always leave that reflection white. And that does oftentimes help the eyes have a little bit of life to them, just so they're not so dull and flat. So you could do eyes like that. Again, I could add another, if I was going to do kind of a realistic style, I might do something where I'm putting a little curved line on the bottom, putting a little curved line on the top. This is going to get you close to the shape of actual eyes. I think we talked about last time how one of the things artists always kind of struggle with is getting the eyes to match. And that's just something you got to practice, because it'll always end up with one that's like not quite the way you want it to look. So maybe something like that could work for eyes, but again, the sky's the limit. You can really, do whatever you want to do. One tip I will give, and again, you see this a lot in cartoons where, let's say that's the basic eye shape. And like we said, cartoons by nature are abstract. So if you want to do eyelashes, again, sometimes in cartoons you'll see them pop straight up, curved lines going up off the top like that. Hey, if you like that, go for it. If you want your eyelashes to look a little bit more realistic, typically if you make them coming more toward the side, almost pointed toward the ear, you're going to get something that has a little bit more realism to it, because in real life, your eyelashes don't actually point up, they point out. Forward, kind of. It's hard to draw things looking forward. Now, that said, I'm getting into kind of a more realistic space here, which isn't really what this video is about. This video is about kind of a cartoony look. So maybe I'll just simplify this whole thing into kind of one curve like that. Maybe I'll add another little one there. And just to show the basic look of the eyelash, maybe I'll just make that whole top area darker. And this is a technique you see in cartoons a lot, where they'll, instead of trying to draw each little eyelash, they'll just make the line on top thicker, darker, something like that. And that gives you the basic idea, right? And sometimes you'll see the bottom line get a little thicker toward the outside too. And again, since it's a cartoon character, if you don't want to have eyelashes at all, again, you tend to see those more on female characters in cartoons. You don't want to have eyelashes at all, don't add them. Do what you want to do. So let's see, what are some other kind of variations I could do? Again, starting typically with ovals or circles, really whatever you want. Let's see. So if I just do two ovals like this, maybe that'll be kind of the white part. I can add some circles inside. Sometimes I like doing my reflections with little curves like this. And again, this wouldn't have to be black. That could be purple or blue or brown or whatever color you want it to be. You could have something like that. Sometimes you'll have eyes. Well, let's talk about eyebrows, because in a cartoon, you don't necessarily need to have eyebrows, right? Doesn't have to look like real life. But eyebrows can be useful for like expression, if you want someone to look angry, if you want someone to look like that. Oftentimes in cartoons, though, you'll see the actual shape of the eyes change. So just as an example, let's take this as kind of the basic shape of my eyes. Even if I don't add eyebrows to it, what I can do is change the shape of the eye itself, which is not something, you know, that happens in real life. You're not going to see my eyes drastically change into a fundamentally different shape. But by changing the shape of the eyes, even without eyebrows, you can add a whole lot of expression, because obviously something like this reads as much angrier, right, than the one above it, even if it's the same basic shapes, the same reflections, all that type of stuff. Sometimes, that said, you can add eyebrows on top of them. Sometimes you'll see the eyebrows kind of attached to the eye. I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. So if I was going to do this same style of eye, and I wanted to make it look like sad or scared, I could kind of curve it and tilt it up. I wouldn't want to really use corners on this, because sharp angular things like corners tend to make it look more well, more aggressive, more angry. But again, that's not a hard and fast rule. Different things are going to work different ways. So this is, for example, a way I can take, you know, just some pretty simple eyes with circles and ovals and manipulate them to have different emotions. So, again, the options really are limitless. So, something like that, right? Now, again, sometimes you won't even see like the white part of the eye at all in a cartoon. Sometimes you'll just see the black part, and that's it. Maybe the little black part has a reflection in it. Sometimes you'll see, well, maybe there's lines on the bottom like that, but not lines on the top. Or maybe you'll see there's lines on the top, but not on the bottom, like that. Or maybe you'll see both, where maybe there's a shape, but the shape isn't fully closed. Again, there's just tons and tons of different things you can do with it. So like I said, one of the things sometimes you'll see is like eyebrows that are actually connected to the eyes themselves. So let's start with some basic little eyebrows here. And again, if you're doing a cartoon, eyebrows can be whatever you want them to be. But in general, they tend to be kind of rounder toward the middle where the nose is and kind of pointier toward the outside near the ears. But that's just if you're trying to do something based in reality. A lot of cartoons won't have eyebrows at all, or they'll only have eyebrows like when they need them for expression. So let's see, maybe I could do something like this, where the eyes are actually kind of connected to the eyebrows, right? And you could just stop there. You don't have to add anything else. Again, it's totally up to you. Or maybe, well, maybe I want to add a little bit of a bit under here. Now, again, is this bit under here white or is it colored? Maybe that's the iris. Maybe it's the white part of the eye. I don't know. It's up to you. Or you go, well, maybe I want to define them a little bit more. Maybe that is the iris. Maybe that is the colored part. So maybe then I'll have the white part kind of coming around like this. Again, just play with it, experiment, see what you can do. Even if that is the part that would be white, maybe it's not all the way closed. Maybe the skin color kind of goes up inside of there. All sorts of weird things happen with cartoons. So point being, just try stuff out, right? What else can I do? Let's do a, we'll start with kind of some ovals, and maybe I'll do something like this, but I'm actually gonna give them a little bit more of an angular shape this time around. So maybe let's connect them right there. And then we'll go up and over. Again, nobody says they have to be totally round. They can be angular. If that's the look you're going for, go for that, right? It's totally up to you. I feel like I keep saying that. You get the idea. So there's a bunch of different concepts here on this sheet of paper. Play with it, right? See what you like. Do you want to include reflections or not? You don't have to. Do you want to include the colored part, the iris? You don't have to. Do you want to include the white part? You don't have to. It's totally up to you. 2 plain circles. If that's all it is on a face, people are still going to read it like eyes as long as they're where the eyes ought to be, right? Okay, cool. So we got a bunch of options for eyes, a bunch of different things we can mess with as we go. Let's talk about noses a little bit. So for our nose, we're doing kind of an angled view of our nose. So there are several options that we can use for that. I'm looking around here for my other papers, making sure I didn't get lost because we're about to actually start drawing on this. Okay, so for noses, obviously, these last little guys I did, I think this is a super easy way to make a nose because it's literally a letter C. Doesn't get much easier than that. So for a nose, literally that does the job. That right there is all you need. But of course, hey, we can make it a little bit more interesting than that. So maybe what I'll do is do a little bit of a letter C here, and then add kind of a little extension to it. So maybe my eyes would be up there. My nose is something like that. Maybe I could do, well, maybe I don't actually like that little bump there, but I'm going to use this same shape. So something like that. One thing I like to show, oftentimes I show my second graders this, is if you're not sure how to make a nose and you want to do something a little more complicated than a letter C, if you turn the paper upside down and make a question mark without the dot, either of those are going to work great for a nose. So hey, if you're looking for an easy way to do it, any type of question mark without a dot can work great for a nose. Again, all my eyes now are just these little dots to kind of show you where they'd be. I'll give myself some eyes up here too. Cool, what else can we do? Maybe it's going to wrap around a little bit. Maybe it's going to swing wide and come around like that. Why not? Where you can see kind of the bump on the side, right? What else could we do? Actually, for any of these, I could go back and add the extra little curve for the nostril. Some people like the way that looks. Some people don't like the way that looks. Again, it's up to you and your character. Maybe some of your characters have that. Maybe some of them don't. Maybe you can see it coming on both sides like this. Totally up to you, right? Maybe you're going to do your nose kind of the anime style, what I call the anime check, where it's basically just kind of a little check mark back and forth like that. That gets the job done, right? Maybe you got maybe your nose is gonna stick way out like this. Again, you can get as abstract as you want with it. Why not? Maybe you can do something where it's basically flat. Bless you. And it goes up and kind of has a bump at the top. I drew a character once who had a nose kind of like that. Maybe it is flat. Maybe the nose is a letter L. I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure that's how they did the professor's nose in the Powerpuff Girls. I think it was literally just a letter L. So again, tons and tons of different options for, different ways you can do it. It could be just a little curvy bump like that. I don't know. But having each character have their own specific eyes, their own specific nose, that's what's going to give them a little bit more personality. Like we talked about, them all having their own specific hair. The hair is a real big part of your character design. But if I went through and kind of changed all these eyes and noses and face shapes too, they'd look a lot more individual. So that's what we're about to do. So we have tons of ideas for how we can do our eyes. We have tons of ideas for how we can do our noses. Sorry, my papers are flying all over the place. So let's get started. Let's see what we can come up with. So here we go. And now I'm going to have to come up with new hairstyles too, aren't I? Maybe I'll add some hats on some of these. So, well, let's get this. And maybe I'm going to do this one as really, really simple with the kind of circular head. Now, what I'm going to start doing with some of these, and you'll see people drawing faces do this a lot. If you choose where's basically the top of the head and where's basically the center of the chin, and you add a little curved line in, that's going to be your line of symmetry right down the middle of your face. So obviously, typically faces are going to have the same features on both sides, eyes, ears, whatever. If you're drawing an angled view, which is what we've been working on, that straight line of symmetry is going to bend like a curve. And so oftentimes you'll see artists do that to kind of help them figure out where their symmetry should be. So if I do something like that, and sometimes they'll draw an eye line as well, which they draw as kind of a curved line like this. And you could do this on any of them. I might do it on some of them as I go. It just kind of helps you figure out, okay, the nose and the mouth should be centered on that center line, if you want them to be. Oftentimes in cartoons, you'll see the mouth like way over on one side. So you might have something, for example, where the mouth is over here on this side and the nose is right in the middle. Again, really, really open-ended. So let's just say for this one, maybe I'll have this kind of big round nose like this. There we go. Maybe for this one, I will have my mouth right there in the middle, just to kind of show what I was talking about. And maybe for this one, I'm just going to have my eyes. Now, one thing that using those lines helps you with is you see how that eye's a little higher up than that one because my line was curved. Just helps the face look kind of dimensional. So again, we're going from lines to shapes, and technically people should be forms, right? So by adding those little curved lines, it just helps it actually look a little bit more like a form. So if I make that eye a little higher than the other one, hey, it might help it look kind of 3D. So something really simple and basic here. And yeah, for this one, we're just going to add a hat. Why not? Why not? And even if it's a hat, that doesn't mean you can't see hair. So let's add some hair. A little bit down here, a little bit in the back. Maybe a little bit kind of shooting out here. Cool. Now, again, everything I'm doing is very sketchy. I'm going to try to sketch a little lighter on some of these. And then maybe I'll go back and hit them with Sharpie at the end or something just to clean them up a little bit. But if you're inventing things, you always want to be sketching so you can change things if you need to change them, right? Cool. Okay. So let's start with this guy. And maybe this one I'm going to do... Maybe this one I'm going to do like huge oval eyes. Huge oval eyes. And maybe the nose is actually going to stick right out in between the eyes. He's got a little tiny bump on the end of the nose here. Okay. We'll do some nice big ovals in here for my pupils. Oh. Yeah, maybe on this one we'll do the mouth is like kind of over to the side, more that cartoony look, even though obviously that's not where it would be in real life. It's a cartoon. It doesn't need to be like real life. Maybe we're going to do the big spiky mess on this guy's hair. All right. So already you can see just the difference in face shape and positioning. They have a totally different vibe, right? Totally different style. So you got to come up with styles that you like, and the only way to do that is to experiment. I actually kind of like that a lot. Nice cartoony look to it, right? Cool. This one. Oh, this is the one that I said. So I traced this one separate because I just had to kind of point out. And I don't have a ton of experience like drawing Spider-Man, but I'm gonna give it a go because this just reminds me of Spider-Man. So if I do the big, actually that line can stay right there on Spidey because he's got the webbing on his mask, right? So actually, something like that might do the job just fine. And then let's see. I guess we'd have other. Not 100% sure, but I feel like there's like a bunch of lines that all kind of converge or meet right in the middle of the mask here. And then maybe you got your little web pattern has some curves in between there. Hey, I'm just sketching, so it might not look perfect. But hey, I think it kind of looks like Spidey. Maybe that's going to go up to there. Maybe that's going to go up to there. And down here, I have no clue what happens. I think everything kind of converges on the little spider in the middle. Maybe that would. I don't know. I don't know. Something like that. Whatever. You get the idea. But what else can we make out of this that's not Spider-Man? I think for this one I'm gonna do a oh, I know what I'm gonna do. First thing I'm gonna do is add some sunglasses. So that shows me again where they would kind of split. And maybe for the nose on this one, I'm just going to do kind of a big round, almost like a rounded letter L. And maybe we'll get our sunglass shapes coming down like this. Gonna tuck that guy behind the ear. This guy's like real serious, I guess. I don't know. Not looking like a happy camper. That's all right. And we're gonna do, I don't know, maybe he should be bald. Maybe that's part of the look there. Nah, we're gonna do some, I don't know what we're doing. We're doing some like spikes, I'm going to put some kind of waves in the middle. What's going on with that? I don't know. I don't know. Let's give them. Again, you can do your ears different ways too. Maybe we're going to do some reflections here across the glasses. Okay. I'm going to have to put like a coat or a tie or something. I don't know. Okay. What's next? Oh, this one. This is another one of those that, man, this basic shape with the broad flat chin. Let me show you how easy this is, actually. Now, at this point, I'm not making up my own characters, clearly, but... So if we have this... So all I really need to do is go up and over. You get yourself a little box, right? I had a little curve down in the middle. That's right. You know what's going down. You know what's happening. You see it. This is totally Batman. So up here, let's get the eyes. Something like that. And I want to say Batman had like a little bump there by the eye. Batman's always serious, so you're not going to catch him smiling. We need some, ooh, I know what we need. We need some, there we go. And what do you know? Congrats, we drew Batman. Cool. And normally, you know, all this would be black. You'd have the blue right there. There you go. You got Batman. Great. What can we do with it, though? What can we do with it? Let's do... Well, first thing I'm going to do, it just feels like we need a chin cleft right there. And it feels like... I don't know. I think because of this huge chin, I feel the need to make a really big mouth. Normally I start with the eyes and the nose, but on this one... Cool. What should we do? So if that's the middle of the chin, my little curved center line is probably going to be about right there. So I'd want my eyes roughly on the same, you know, side of that one. These are all so different. I didn't actually expect all of those to end up being that totally different. What are we doing with this one? Maybe we'll do a... should we do a tiny nose? Maybe we do no nose. Do all cartoon characters have to have a nose? I don't know. Probably not. Maybe for this one... Maybe for this one I'm going to do like the big... This is starting to look like a robot. Actually. Maybe this is a robot. Maybe those aren't teeth at all. Let's get rid of the ear. Ooh, no, let's make the ear like sticking out on... Yeah, this is a robot suddenly. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you start drawing things and they turn into robots. Maybe we see that little tiny bit of this other ear on the other side sticking out. Yep, this one's a robot for sure. So the question is, what do the eyes of a robot look like? Are they ovals? Are they circles? Maybe they're just squares. I'm not sure I like them as squares, but I'm not sure it matters because I just drew them that way. Ooh, let's do a. Ooh, I know. This is a robot. Let's do like a kind of a hexagon thing going on. Right here. Lower this. Should it have a nose? Two little dots? Nope. Not at all. Not happening. I don't know. Now this thing's kind of creeping me out too, honestly. Maybe we'll add another little. Yeah, I don't know. I think if I woke up at night and saw that thing leaning over me, it would freak me out. How can we make it friendlier? Maybe you don't want to. Maybe you want it to be a little. Does that help? That helps. That's not as Hey, I didn't know where I was going. That's where I got. Cool. Let's move on. Let's move on from this one. All right. What are we gonna do here? Maybe we'll do a. Actually, I want to kind of squish this down. A lot of these have that same kind of taller look. Let's squish this down a little bit. So let's pull that in. Well, do I need to squish down that part? Or maybe I can just make the top shorter. Yeah. All right. There's going to be a lot of erasing because we're making up things as we go. So sometimes there's erasing when you do that, right? So. All right. What are we going to do here? What are we going to do here? Well, let's find our kind of center line. So center of the head down to the chin. Okay. And let's do... Well, I like the way this curve is kind of coming from the cheek. So let's go ahead and continue that curve. And we'll use that as the bottom part of our eye. We got our curve over here, got our curve over here, something like that. That might be a little extreme. And we'll do maybe a big... I gotta change my shape a little bit. Maybe we'll do a big... something like that. Whoops. Then again, you're gonna make things up. You gotta be willing to take chances and not quite know where you're going. So I'm just making these about the same size. I felt like one was way bigger than the other, and I wasn't a huge fan of that. All right, so I like the way the cheek kind of rolled right into the eye on this one. Let's do, let's add some little reflections, give these eyes a little bit of life down here. Okay. What next? Let's add maybe a, maybe get our nose going on. So maybe this one has the little curve up above and down below. Why not? All right. Oh, is that too much like that nose? No. No. It can be whatever I want it to be. We'll add the little nostrils. We hadn't done that yet on any of these. Get those little nostrils on both sides, kind of. Not the nostrils, you know, the little bumps beside the nostril. Okay. Yes, we can erase out this line at this point. We got our face starting to look okay. All right. I'm feeling like this one's a girl. Maybe we'll do the little eyelash thing. Somehow indicate those a little bit. Even if they stick off the side, maybe that's all right. Okay. Hair would be good. I think the ear at this point has become way too high up, way higher than it ought to be. So my ear probably should move down to here. So let's do. To go in front of the ear, maybe it goes in front. Let's put my ear down here, a little lower, a little more like where it ought to be. Am I gonna sweep this in front of the eye? Nah, not yet. We'll have a little bit coming down like that in front of the ear. There's my ear. And then of course we need the rest of it, which is gonna be long. Ooh, let's add. Yeah. Cool. All right, and let's say the rest of this kind of coming down and around. And again, if you're wondering, just like yesterday when I added the hair, if you're wondering, well, what's going on there? She's got a part in her hair. That's what's going on there. So, yeah. Back of the neck right here. Front of the neck right here. We'll add in a little line. So I guess that's a shoulder. And the other side of the part. Maybe coming down like that. Let's add in the other shoulder. And maybe hair's about that long, so we'll have the rest of it coming down here from behind. There we go. Cool. Again, so far, I'm feeling 5 totally different styles happening. Maybe she needs some eyebrows. Eyebrows? No eyebrows. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong. Okay. Cool. I feel like I'm adding a lot more details. This is taking longer than I assumed it was going to. All right. So what are we going to do for this last one? Ooh, this is that kind of anime angular style. So maybe we're going to do one of those. I think I'm definitely going to give this one the old anime nose. And we'll see what develops. So let's start. I guess if these are the cheeks, where would my eyes be? Would they be up here? Would they be down lower? I'm not sure. Maybe let's curve this line so it's not sticking quite as far out, so we got more room. I'm guessing my eye line is going to be right about here. Maybe I should connect that to the eye line more. And let's do some really big. Really tall, kind of oval eyes on this one. Okay. Even if I erase that out, I'll still be able to see it. Let's do our Well, that looks a little angry, but maybe this one's kind of angry. And actually, should I even add another shape to this? Or should I leave it like that? I don't know. I'll tell you another thing I'm going to do. I'm going to make this part connect to almost like the brow. Maybe I'll curve that around on this side too. And actually, maybe the outside of the eye just stays like that. I don't know. Does that look too... Is that too weird? Is that too abstract? It doesn't matter. Because I'm making it up. I can do whatever I want. So, yep. Yep. Something like that. Let's go all out. Evidently borrowing a hairline here from Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. With the big, what, Widow's Peak thing? Yeah, that or Dracula, I guess. Oh, you know what? I could add I could add some fangs in there. This could totally be a Dracula. I'm sure everyone had this experience, but being a kid and you're trying to think of the name for vampires and you call them a Dracula instead of a vampire because you don't know the word for a vampire. Seems like it's going back, right? Maybe not. Yeah, most of that's definitely going back. It wants to go back. Don't fight with it. If it wants to go back, let it go back. I think that one wanted to go back for sure. Now again, what would this character look like without an open mouth? I don't know. I think he's that's the look. All the time, right? All the time. Let's add in a little more. All right, so there's 6 very different looking characters, very different styles. And I think I'm gonna make some more, but right now I am tired. My hand is worn out, so I'm either gonna take a break or end this video there. Maybe I'll do some more tomorrow. We'll call it a day on that. So we'll draw some more faces next time. I still have like those same shapes. I'm gonna, add some different details, different designs in. But yeah, my hand's pretty much shot right now. So that's it for today. See you next time. We'll do some more cartoons. Have a good day. Stay safe. Be creative. All that good stuff. See ya.